sector organizations. It is my pleasure to introduce Mr. Nikhil Pant for the audience. He is the founder, LAKSHYAA and CEO, REACHA, former Chief Program Executive of NFCSR. He is the Honorary Advisor for CSR Spark. Mr. Nikhil headed the Learning and Development Team of National Foundation for Corporate Social Responsibility, which in collaboration with the Ministry of Corporate Aairs, Government of India, played a key role in formulation of CSR legislation. Apart from this, Mr. Nikhil is the founder of LAKSHYAA and has been associated with REACHA for over 30 years in various capacities such as founder member, member secretary, principal consultant, and currently the CEO. The organization works tirelessly to provide a bridge between government and underprivileged communities in order to maximize the impact of the government programs on the ground. He is also the former Chief Program Executive of NFCSR and Honorary Advisor of CSR Spark. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together to welcome Mr. Nikhil Pant for this session.
Thank you so much to the Madras Management Association, Mr. Jawahar, Mr. Swaran Singh, Group Captain, and of course my friend Mr. Krishnaswamy. It's a great pleasure and honor to be here. In the next, I guess, an hour and a half or maybe a couple of hours, along with question and answers. We've got 2 hours. This is really good. I hope everybody is inside. If anyone is still outside having their extended chai, if they can come inside, because I'll just start in the next couple of minutes. So the next 1.5 hours to 2 hours, I will take you through the CSR legislation, and we will make it a very interactive session. Lots has happened since the law came into being on the 1st of April 2014. Today, when we are in 2022, there have been series of changes and amendments that have been brought about. What I will do in my presentation is to take you through, if you see the title, it is about CSR. I will give you a brief core concepts about CSR. So how many NGO people are here in the audience? First, let me see. Can you please raise your hands? Okay, very good. So this is a question that I do every time when I start a session on CSR. How many of you NGOs, and I will ask my students who are here also, whom I have taught CSR, they will not raise their hands in my next question. How many of you know section 135 of CSR? I don't see any hands over here. I see 1 hand over here, 2 hands. So, and how many NGOs? Everybody raised their hands. And now my next question is going to be an even more interesting one, and everybody will laugh after that. And including my students can raise their hands. How many of you want funds? Both hands you can raise also. You want more funds and more funds. And when I say how many of you know section 135, you will all put your hands in your pocket. But then there is no funds in your pocket, by the way. They are in your brain and you have to understand it. So this is the travesty of our democracy in a way, and Mr. Jawahar was talking about that, and I told him as well, that in a democracy, we choose our representatives through elections. He talked about the election commission experience in Bihar also. And when our representatives go there and they make some laws for us, which we don't read, and then we complain that we are not getting funds. So do you think we all should start reading a little bit, yes or no? Yes. I can't hear you. Yes. So I also run an NGO and I make it a point to read. So if I am not reading and I go to a donor to say, please give me funds because I want to teach children how to read, am I being a hypocrite or I am being a very truthful guy? Bit of a hypocrite, a little danger. So I am going to show a bit of the mirror to all of you also. I am part of the same community as an NGO. I am part of an NGO since the last 30 years. Then I have been on the side of grant giving. I was with the Tech Mahindra Foundation. The Mahindras do a lot of work. And then I was in government at the ministry when the law was being made, and I was part of the team that made this law. So my purpose of coming here and to travel around the country is to make all of you understand about the CSR law. So after today, when you complete my class of this 2 hours, 1.5 hours, you will know what CSR is, okay? You will know a little bit about the amendments. There are lots of amendments, the second word if you see. And then there are a lot of compliances. If there is a law, there will have to be a compliance. Otherwise, how do you go forward? So some of you or maybe all of you are very good in say education work or skill development work and you don't know the law. So if I am a donor and you come to me, will I be confident to give you money or will I feel less confident? So why are all of you have not understood this since 1st of April 2014? Can anybody raise your hand and tell me? The law came into being in 2014. So why are you people so unaware about it? This is a very, very difficult question for me, to which an answer I am not getting. Since May, June, I have travelled to about 15 cities in the country, and wherever I am conducting this session, live session, my first question is this: how many know the law? And 2% raise their hand. And then my next question is how many need funds? And everybody raises their hand. This is an unfortunate situation in an information age where these sessions are going live also. So maybe somewhere we are wasting our time also, it seems. Please understand the power of this legislation, understand the amendments. You may like them, you may not like them, but then those are the rules. Tomorrow new government will come, they will have their own choices also. We don't like any government, we can throw them out in the next elections. That's the beauty of democracy. Yes or no? Yes. Okay. Now, in the session that I take, I will be consulting these very 6 critical documents. One is the law. Second is the Schedule 7 is a list of activities which you can do in CSR, like education, skill development, disaster management. How many of you work in education over here? How many of you work in skill development, jobs, placements, SHGs? How many of you work in culture, music, arts, handicrafts, disaster management, health? There would be many of you. The third is the rules. Once a law is made, the concerned ministry has to make rules to implement the law. So the first set of rules were made in 2014, and then there was a huge amendment which I am mentioning over here, which happened in 2021. Which was just after or maybe just before the second wave of COVID. The second wave of COVID happened from April 2021 when the oxygen problem happened all over the country. Then I will tell you a little bit about some frequently asked questions. FAQs have been released by the ministry in August 2021. And then there is a form CSR2 that all corporates are required to submit basis their spending on CSR. So are there any more corporates here also, I don't know, who do CSR besides TVS? So there are some, where are you from? GNCL. Any other corporate here? Acha. Who does CSR, right? You also do CSR, you do? Through NGOs you do. So good. Okay, all right. So all of these documents and the presentation we will also share with you. I will tell you how you will have to just log into a particular website, become a member there, and then you can download. There are no charges, no nothing, but you can then download all of them and then consult them in a sequential manner, like I will be telling you in this master class. Do you think this will be helpful? Okay, perfect. Now, as I take you through, I want all of you to make some notes also. You have a pad and pen? I am a bit of a school teacher and I am going to shout in between also if you are not writing. So I will come around. Because you are not learning, you are not reading, and if you don't even write and you ask me for funds and you ask corporates for funds, then you will get it. So please have your pads. You've had some chai and some energy is there. You can't just sit like dodos and say that I know nothing and I want all funds. Okay, good ma'am. Very good, very good. And I might just ask you, come from behind, tap you and ask you a question on CSR. And you'll have to stand up and give an answer. Okay? Is that okay or not? Okay. Good. So we go to the first slide to understand what CSR is. So what happened? There was a Companies Act 1956, right, or 54, 56 I think, which had become very outdated, and a new law had to come in, which came into being in the year called 2013. Please write it down, Companies Act 2013, which has more than 400 sections. So your first homework, my students, is to go and download the Companies Act 2013 yourself, while I will give it to you also, but you must do a Google download also. You all know how to access internet? I'm going to ask you very nursery questions now. You all can download? Yes. Good. This gives me some confidence. Okay. So a new act was created in 2013, where a new section was inserted called 135. Can you read 135 over here? Which was specific to corporates to do some social work outside their business. Write down the word outside the business. I'm going to teach you basic concepts here. Outside the business means corollary to business. Corollary to business means if I'm running a business and I'm making some profits, the law says do all your expenses, pay all your taxes, and then there is a formula under section 198. Write down section 198. That gives you the formula to find out your CSR budget for the next year. Okay? So first of all, if I am doing well, then these three criteria will be applied, and if I qualify in any one of them, and I am sure TVS, which is here, would be qualifying in one of these criteria, sir. That's why you do CSR through the trust. If you are having a net worth of 500 crore or more, a turnover of 1,000 crore or more, or a net profit of rupees 5 crore or more, any one of these, then you have to allocate a budget which is given by this formula, which is average net profit every financial year, at least 2% of the average net profit made during the immediately 3 preceding financial years. How many of you are good in maths over here? Or you are now getting a little bit more scared with your teacher? Are you all very poor in maths? Then how will you do CSR? CSR is all about maths. How will I give you funds? Somebody please tell me, maths. Who's reasonably good and okay in maths? 50-50 kinds? Good one. No, not Radha, you're my student. Yes, ma'am. What's your good name?
Bhavani.
Bhavani. Okay. So, we are in which financial year, Bhavani? Which financial? Do we have a hand mic also? Where I can have some audience to speak, if that's possible? Which financial year are we in? No cheating.
Oh, come on. That's not
You're not going to ask.
rocket science.
Which financial year are we in?
2022-23.
No, right now, which financial year are we in?
22-23.
22-23. So, can you tell me the immediately 3 preceding financial years, keeping this financial year in mind?
21-22.
Yes.
20-21.
Right.
19 and 20.
Very good. So, in these 3 financial years, I will apply the formula for my budget for FY 22-23. If I am qualifying under any of these 3. Is this concept clear to everyone? Okay. Now, once I know my budget, I am told by my company chartered accountant that this is your budget, Mr. Pant, 100 rupees for financial year 22-23. But then Nikhil Pant doesn't know how to spend the money. Should I just take it home? Or should I just give it to a friend? Or I should do some need assessment in the community to find out where the community requires it, and then create some projects, find good NGOs who know some maths and who know some CSR and give it to them? Which one should I do? First option, second or third? Good, you guys are doing well. Okay, so I have to set up a CSR committee of the board. Now, if my board has 10 members, 3 of them will form a CSR committee, okay, and 2 of them have to be directors and 1 an independent director. You can keep making your notes. Because I will ask you some question after 10 minutes. Then you cannot say I don't know now. 3-member committee with one independent director and 2 directors. Can anybody tell me why should there be an independent director there? To reduce bias. Very good. Is there hand mic there? Yeah, if you can give it to me. Just give it to me. This is working?
To give more transparency.
Yes, sir?
To give more transparency in accountability.
To give more transparency and accountability. And ma'am, what did you say?
To reduce bias.
To reduce bias, because the independent director is like a third umpire. Absolutely, to prevent conflict of interest. Please keep adding these words in your notes. Okay, so then this is to prevent conflict of interest?
To have fresh ideas.
To have fresh ideas. Very good point. Outside in view, because the independent director has no pecuniary benefit from the company. To improve fairness, very good. Now, very good non-promoter element, which means a third umpire situation, which means non-bias. Okay. Now, this committee, the board of each calling must form a CSR committee of the board, and I have already said to you how this committee has to function. Now, what does this committee do? These are the 4 boxes. It goes from top left, then right, then bottom, then bottom. It goes from here. It comprises of 3 or more directors with at least 1 independent director. We just discussed this. Okay? Composition to be disclosed in the annual board director's report. Then bottom left, it has to formulate a CSR policy for the company, clearly stating the budget and the activities. So if my budget is 100 rupees, which has been calculated using the formula that we just came to know, then I must say that this 100 rupees I must spend 5 rupees in education, 10 rupees in skill development, 25 rupees in disaster management. Suppose I'm in Tamil Nadu in some area where cyclones come every year and my company is there and my people are crying. And if I'm a company there, if I from my profits keep some money for extra money for disaster management, do you think the community will feel positive about my company? Yes. So, when you are making your policy at the board level, you must think about the requirements of your community and then develop that policy framework. Okay? And then the last but not the least is to monitor the implementation of the CSR policy. In fact, I will share a model CSR policy also with you. I will tell you about it and you can write it down. It is one of the best CSR policies in the country today. It is of HCL Technologies, which I was part of, which I had also prepared. Maybe others also have. TVS would also be having its own policy. ONGC is also a good policy in public sector. You can write it down. In the literature that I share with you, and my students Radha, you could just make a note. We will help everybody. We will share some of these policies with you. These are all available in public domain. And you will see how these policies are actually helping these companies to spend their money. Now, once this committee has made the CSR policy, the board, the 10-member board, this committee was 3 members, right? But the board is 10 members. It has to approve and disclose the CSR policy in the annual director's report on the company's website, ensure implementation of the CSR activities as per the policy, report the actual utilization. Now, this is a very important thing that has happened in the new amendments of 2021. Earlier, what was happening was if I had 100 rupees and I had my own trust or my own foundation, I would pass on the company money to the foundation and report to the government that I have spent the money. And the foundation is keeping the money. That is not permitted now. That foundation will also have to spend the money, either itself or by giving it to other NGOs. And those NGOs could be of 3 kinds. We will learn about that. An 1860 society. How many of you are 1860 society out here? A trust. How many of you are trusts over here? Or a Section 8 company. Some of you may be Section 8 companies also over here. Okay? And the director's report to specify reasons in case the specified amount is not spent. So earlier what the law was saying was that if 100 rupees is my budget, then on 31st March, if I have actually spent only 80 rupees, which means I have got utilization certificate from my chartered accountant of 80 rupees, then 20 rupees I have not been able to spend or allocate, I will just report to the government that I have not been able to spend 20 rupees, that's it. No questions asked. Now from January 2021, the rules have changed and CSR has now, spending has now become mandatory. Now this is good news for NGOs, because if your corporate is mandated to spend, and if you are an NGO nearby with a good proposal, do you think your probability of getting the money will go up or go down? Provided again you know your maths and you know your CSR. I'm going to keep coming back to that. Okay? So you will understand why how I began and what I'm trying to reinforce over here. I'm pulling your leg a little bit, please don't mind it. But there is a purpose behind it. Yes, ma'am? We'll come to that. Now,
if your company is not 3 years old, then do you need to do the...
So we will come to that also. Just write your questions. I will give a pause after the first 5-7 minutes now. After 7 minutes, I'll give maybe 5 more minutes, I'll give a pause. I'll take some questions. Let me complete the first part of my presentation. A lot of your questions may get answered. Then we'll take a 5-minute break where I'll take some questions, then the next part will begin. Okay? Because right now I'm just spending some time in my first class, in the first section where I'm giving you the basics of CSR, which is about CSR. I am actually right now doing this part, about CSR. Okay, then I'll come to amendments, then I'll come to compliances also, which are on the way, so that you understand everything well. Now, who can do this CSR for me with this 100 rupees? Everybody just read this slide and you will find yourself somewhere inside this slide. And I want all of you to raise your hands when you see that where you belong. If you find your place in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or 6, just raise your hand. One hand I can see, 2, very good. Because I want to make you understand this also, then only you will raise your hand. I won't spoon feed you anymore. Very good. Who falls where? Which number do you fall, sir? First one, you're a company, foundation?
Not company, but we are old age home, we are running an old age home.
So then that will be number
That is
2.
two.
That will be number 2. Number 2 is an NGO which is 3 years old. So if you are an NGO which is 3 years old, which is the center mein dekhein, trust, a society or a section 8, then you're number 2. Bullet number 2.
Sir, if you don't mind, read that out.
Okay, all right, surely. So number 1 is a company foundation. Number 1 is a company foundation which could be new. Okay? This is called activities route. It means that this foundation will have to do work through projects which are listed in Schedule 7. There are certain activities which are listed over there. Number 2 is an external NGO which has to be 3 years old. Okay? Which again has to do some activities and projects. Number 3 is a central or a state government vehicle, which could be and all these 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 can be a trust, a society or a section 8, which is the Venn diagram at the center is common. Okay? So for example, I was with the Indian Institute of Corporate Affairs, which is an 1860 society. There is a Goa CSR authority set up by the government of Goa, which is an 1860 society. There is a Gujarat CSR authority. You can keep writing down these sample examples. Do a Google and find out the constitution of these organizations. These are government NGOs. Number 4 is a parliament or a state legislature established entity, which can again be new. Like there is a Rajiv Gandhi University, I think in Tamil Nadu. Siriperumbudur, which is a university set up by an act of parliament. It can receive funds directly. It need not be new. Number 5 is various funds set up by the government like PM CARES, PM National Relief Fund, any central government fund for scheduled castes, scheduled tribes, backward communities, then the Swachh Bharat Kosh, the Clean Ganga Fund. All of these number 5 bullet are all contribution routes. Please understand 1, 2, 3, 4 are activities route and 5 and 6 is contribution route. What is the difference? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is project basis. You have to develop a project, they will give you money, you implement the project, you submit the utilization. Isn't this the way you work with corporates? Yes or no? Yes. But if I give some money to PM National Relief Fund, It is more like a donation. It's a one-time contribution. Can you see the last line? This is a contribution route. There is no project. Prime Minister will not tell you that I am setting up an oxygen plant, give me money. But PM will say, give me money, I will see where it is required and I will spend it, and you will get a tax receipt of 100% exemption. That's what PM CARES does, or PM National Relief Fund does. And number 6 is qualifying incubators. Any incubators over here from incubation? Ma'am, you are from an incubator? Social. Okay, social incubation, huh? Not IT based, STEM, science, technology, engineering and medicine, not that. So this number 6 concerns qualifying incubators and research and R&D projects in STEM. STEM, I hope you know, is science, technology, engineering and medicine. It also includes qualifying institutions in STEM research for achieving sustainable development goals. I hope you are all aware about SDGs, sustainable development goals. These are also contributions route. So 1, 2, 3 and 4 are project routes, activity routes, and 5 and 6 are contributions. Means you can just give money and they'll give you a receipt. It's a contribution. Okay? Yeah. In the government ones, for example, like the PM Fund or the National Relief Fund. I am going to stop here, ma'am. Just a minute. Let me complete the first section. Now, this is the list of activities, ma'am. Just write your question. I'll come to you one by one. Now, this is the list of activities. 1 to 5, it includes eradication of hunger. The second is on education. The third is on gender equality, etc. Fourth is on environment and flora and fauna. Fifth is on protection of national heritage, etc. Sixth is on widows, etc. Central paramilitary forces. Then training to promote sports, etc. Number 7. Number 8 is PM Fund, etc. Number 9 is the contributions route. 10 is rural development. And 11th is slum development. Now, I will halt here. Let me see the time and we will take a 5 to 10 minute Q&A break. So, it is 11:12. I still have lots of time. I am going to stop here and right from this start that we did, anybody wants to ask any question, just raise your hand, or you raise multiple hands. Which question are you asking, ma'am? Okay. Please, if your name I would need, your organization and then your question.
I'm Ramalata Marimuthu from I Explore Foundation for Sustainable Development. I have a question on the type of companies where the CSR can be.
This slide?
Yes.
Okay, yes.
Yes. I want to know whether the first one is the purely the NGO.
It is like the TVS Trust.
Okay.
It is like TVS Trust.
Okay.
Which means a trust formed by a company.
Okay.
So, I am the owner of a company. I am the mother and I create a daughter foundation.
Okay.
And I pass on my money to the foundation. Because the money is owned by my parent, it need not be 3 years old. If I am an external NGO,
Then it
I
has to
could
be
be
3
a
years.
dicey character. I just create an NGO overnight, give me money. No, I want you to be 3 years old. Show me income tax returns. Show me your work for 3 years. Show me your bank transactions. Show me that if I give you 20 lakh rupees, you can spend the money. Otherwise, you may not be able to spend the money. And now, if I give you money and you can't spend the money, then as per the law, which I just told you, it is now mandatory. Then the company will be fined. There is a civil offense.
So any NGO or Section 8 company which is formed newly cannot have the CSR funds.
Exactly, it needs to be 3 years old if it is an external entity. That is bullet number 2.
Understood.
So, I am just focusing on core concepts over here. You should ask me difficult questions that confuse you, but if you follow what I am telling you, your concept will become absolutely clear. And then as we go forward, we will try and, yes, we have a question on this side. We have one more over here. Your name, organization, sir, and then the question.
So I am Vasudevan from Srinivasan Services Trust.
Okay.
As per the Amendment Act, as per January 2021, that the trust has to spend that whole money given by my donor company.
So,
We are getting funds from.
Your question is going to come here in this amendments, huh? Which is going to be somewhere here. This is, I think you are asking.
No.
Unspent spending wala sawal
Yeah,
hai na?
it's useful.
So we will come to this.
Okay.
We will come to this.
Okay.
Abhi, you have to ask me question till my first part. Don't go beyond the syllabus right now. Just be here. Don't even go here. Go here. Here and before. Any questions, please ask me. Yes, sir.
Hi sir, I am Sujin, CSR officer from GHCL Foundation.
And Sujin is also one of my students, so I conduct a lot of courses on CSR.
Okay.
So some of my students are also here, I keep traveling around. In fact, this reminds me, sorry, I conduct a course to the HCL Foundation. It's called a 3-month online course. If you're interested, you can write to me. There are no charges. It's a 3-month online course, and Radha, if you can stand up, she's one of my students. And Sujin is another one, and there's another one over here. So what I do is when I travel around the country, I also call my students to come and share their experiences. So you are free to talk to them also the whole day they are here. Yes, your question.
Yeah, it's a simple question. Actually, is it Schedule 7 and the SDG same or different?
Which one, which one?
Schedule 7.
Oh, very good question. So Schedule 7 has 11 bullets. SDGs are 17. But you will find that when you are reading the SDGs, there is an overlap also. Like for example, SDG 4 is education, and another one could be relating, and another one is I think 6 or 7 is skill development. So both of those SDGs are covered in number 2 of Schedule 7. So typically what is required by corporates today, and you can write this down, that when you are making your project proposal, try to make, say in education, if you are making in such a way that you can cover more and more SDGs. The more SDGs you cover, the more positive the corporate may get towards funding you, because they have to achieve the goals through their CSR and report it in their ESG reporting or other reportings. So we have to understand these things, and I will go more deeper into some of this as we go forward. Right now I am taking the first section where I want all of you to know what is CSR. Because once you understand what is CSR, you will realize that we all are sitting on a gold mine and we are traveling far and wide in hunt of little pennies because we don't want to read maths or CSR. We have to be aware about this, and the moment we do this, you will realize that your corporates who are close to you may be looking for you, but they are not confident because you are not able to ask the right or present the right ideas. I will just come to you. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I represent an institution for visually impaired. Institution name is Netrodya. I'm the founder. My question is, in family trust, the beneficiaries are identified, whereas in public charitable trust, the beneficiaries are not identified. When it comes to the CSR funding, for example, when you go to the ONGC, when we ask for funds, they say you have to do some projects on the oil exploration area, which is near Tiruvarur or on those areas. When is it mandatory that this CSR funds, they will have their mindset or their
very good
decision?
question. That's a brilliant question. One of the sections of the law, please write it down. It says that the corporate should preferably spend CSR money in the local area. Preferably is the word, which I think is a blundering word. They shouldn't have written it, because a lot of corporates then begin to toe that line. Otherwise, they are not following the line at all, but here they want to have that, they'll toe that line.
Exactly.
So I'll give you an example. My own NGO where I work, I'm a CEO there. ONGC is funding me since the last, our organization in Kashmir since 2016, which is an aspirational area, and Kashmir is not an ONGC area. So somewhere I as an NGO must try to be able to convince the corporate that if you go beyond your area, it is good for the people and for you also. So it is not as per the law, it says preferably but not beyond it. To tell the corporate that it is not you to be spending just over there, you will have to convince them.
But what about the independent director? Does he have a role to play in
Yes,
this?
yes.
Because when
So
we-
then you are saying a fantastic thing. You must then approach or try to approach the independent director of such organizations to tell them, ma'am, sir, this is my project, this is the community requirement, and the law doesn't prevent you from going beyond your local area. So if you do this, sir, these are the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 benefits that your company will also get. So NGOs also have to convince the donor to take that extra step. Yes, sir. Okay. I will just thank you. Have you got your answer?
Yeah.
Perfect. I'll just come to you because there's somebody at the back who's raised his hand. We want more questions like this because this is very, very useful.
Nikhil sir, don't you feel that the...
Your name and the organization?
Yeah, my name is Ramesh and I represent the interests of Tejas Foundation.
Tejas Foundation, okay.
Well, don't you feel that an NGO which has just started, that is the time when the teething troubles are there, and that is the time when a lot of trust is required, and that is the time when a lot of funds are required. And for the first 3 years, how will they be struggling to run it, to take it off the ground? That is the time in which they need a whole lot of money.
So Ramesh, that's a very, very valid question. So there is a counter to it and there is a support to it also. The counter to it is, from the corporate side, is that unless you have a track record of 3 years, how do you convince me that you'll be able to spend, you have the bandwidth to spend my money, otherwise I'm going to be penalized by the government, is the corporate point of view, right? From the NGO, you are perfectly justified in saying, then how do I even start? It's a chicken and hen situation. Exactly. So what I tell NGOs is this. One is, you can look at donations, you can look at crowdfunding. There are various, Keto is there, Milap is there. You can try to become a sub-grantee also to some NGOs who are willing to give you, sub-grant the money to you in permission with the donor. Because suppose the donor A gives the money to the NGO B, which is 3 years and older and more. But your NGO C is today. But you still need to have, I hope all of you have got 12A, 80G and Form CSR1.
Yes.
Form CSR1 everybody has?
Yes.
Raise your hands. Form CSR1. If you don't have Form CSR1, you can't get CSR money. And 12A and 80G also. So you could become a sub-grantee, Ramesh, provided the donor corporate agrees to it. And again, the donor's chances of agreeing will be more if you present a case that your new NGO is bringing in some value which the B NGO is not having maybe, and it is needed to achieve the goals of the project, which is the need assessment. Somewhere you will have to have a compelling justification to become a sub-grantee also, because the law doesn't say no. It says no if you are the front NGO receiving it. That is, there you have an intermediary NGO, which could even be a foundation, for example. A foundation like a TVS Trust or an HCL Foundation or an Infosys Foundation or a Tata Power Foundation, all of them are also NGOs of the corporate. Now, but most of them would like you to be a 3-year-old organization. Yes, unless there is a compelling reason for you to be considered. Otherwise, you have other sources to generate your revenues while you become 3. Okay, so I'm just taking the mic. Acha, fine. Okay, so is there any social entrepreneur? Because let them ask a very specific question. Any social entrepreneur here? Any startups? Because then we have the incubation. The incubation is that area where they come in, frankly speaking, because the incubators, they qualify under 6. Under 6, if you are an incubatee, under an incubator. So suppose IIT Madras, suppose is an incubator, which can receive 100 crore rupees from, say, some corporate. Then if I am a startup and I am accepted by IIT Madras, then IIT Madras can give me money which it receives out of the 100 crores as if I am an incubatee. And that incubatee has to have certain qualifying norms which the IIT Madras team will justify. Now for IIT Madras to become qualified, they have to be part of the Department of Science and Technology, and there are certain norms which are clearly mentioned in the Schedule 7. You have to be government funded, etc.
Sir,
Yes.
I'm Kupuswamy, retired from IIT Madras.
Okay.
And section 7, sir. In the 7, there are various activities.
7, which
Not
one?
this, not this.
Okay, Schedule 7. Okay.
Schedule 7.
Okay.
In that,
Bullet, which bullet? Bullet number, which bullet number?
no, it's my thing, what I'm trying to ask, does not come under any of the bullets.
Which one? Which doesn't
That
come?
is, what I'm trying to say, it may be skill development, but making...
Number
people
2, number 2, read number 2.
Maybe number 2.
Quiet. Patience. Read number 2. You'll get your answer.
Promotion, education, including special education, employment. It is not employment or anything. But making people good. Okay. See,
Livelihood enhancement projects. So are you talking about for making people feel good means they need to earn more money?
not only earning more money.
Okay.
Yeah, for example, Mr. Swaran Singh, he was
yes.
telling the lack of trust among people.
So,
NGOs,
that-
so that people must be made good.
So people,
trust must be
so my,
enhanced.
as a donor, I will say, what is your criteria of good? I am very good, I want to,
They must be very honest. And the
how do you measure honesty?
integrity level must be good.
How do you measure integrity? So,
And,
I'm going to ask you counter questions. If I give you my money, I'm going to ask you questions. So, don't be discouraged. Under promoting education, you can develop an advocacy project where you can say that if I teach maths, say, or if I teach energy conservation, can I do an energy conservation project in schools where children actually audit and reduce their electricity bills, and while doing this measurable activity, the process teaches them honesty, the process teaches them meditation, the process teaches them a lot of other things which are qualitative. So the project needs to be measurable because you are spending money. The CA will say, where did the money go?
But how do you account for this type of thing? See,
No, you can account. You can account it through an advocacy
but
project.
you are telling, particularly problem with the Indian NGOs is lack of trust. You know? That trust
So
must
the
be
lack
enhanced,
of
people must
trust-
be made good.
Exactly.
So how to make people good? You know?
So that's a very difficult thing you are saying. So to make people good is nobody's job. It is like we all have to be good citizens, right? So under education, you can develop projects which are holistic. You can merge various other schedules also together into one activity and have a major activity within education. Advocacy so like for example, you want to reduce traffic accidents so that people can follow the rules. Now you can do a survey and see that these are the crossings where more accidents are happening, do a training, a need assessment, then develop a project. In that project, your outcome should be measurable, but to achieve that outcome, you can include some qualitative learning aspects also which you are saying. Now for those, you may develop your own parameters like to make them happy, for example, to make them good. Now define something in goodness, you'll have to define something. But for me to give you money, I need to know that did the accidents go down or not.
That is true.
The auditor is not going to listen to it. So I have to at the end follow some rule. It's like I want to play soccer and I say that I want to be very good in soccer, but I'm not scoring any goals. Eventually I'm out of the tournament. The fact of life is you have to score the goal.
So measurability must be there.
Unfortunately or fortunately, that's how the world goes. You got my point?
Yes.
So your project development is very important. Okay, I think there's a question here.
Yeah, hi. My name is Sai Chandrasekhar. I'm from Agastya International Foundation. A couple of questions. One is the point about doing it preferably in the area of your operations, I think is a huge challenge. And my view is it should just be removed, that line should be removed. I have tried talking to several organizations. They're very clear, let's be safe rather than sorry. This is what my legal team says, and I'll do it. Let's not discuss this. It doesn't matter how you interpret it. This is the interpretation of my legal person, so I'll go with it, period. No discussion. So I think they're all trying to be safe rather than sorry, though the word preferable is used. So I think it would be much simpler if that line is not there, leave it to the judgment of the organizations. Let them try and figure that out.
So let's go one by one. Have you read the frequently asked questions of August 2021?
No, it's not whether the law is right or not. It's the question of
interpretation.
How that person is interpreted, and all corporates.
We have a government interpretation which we need to tell the legal people.
It doesn't matter. They don't listen. Period.
So
That's all.
then it is your convincing power, because if the arbiter is giving you a clarification, you still don't want to accept it. Then
see, the question is this: if that is creating this thing, I think it's in the interest of
so those
the
that
law
is a larger.
You just remove that line because it doesn't serve any purpose.
So neither you nor I are in the ministry, right? So where do we go from here? There is a midway. The midway is that the government comes out with frequently asked questions where they give clarifications.
One is not questioning that. It's just that people want to be safe rather than sorry.
So
they just don't want to even initiate a discussion on this. Forget convincing.
Okay, that is one view that you are giving.
No, that's experience, not view. 9 out of 10
Okay, what is your
organizations
next
that-
question? Because we can't argue on this because the government clarification is there. My advice to everybody is, in anything that what you are also saying, if there is a government clarification, we should go by that as far as compliance is concerned.
So I have tried telling organizations, forget you invest 90% in your area. Give me 10% of that budget to invest in Jharkhand, Chhattisgarh. Sorry, take it or leave it.
They are not interested, huh?
There are some who are so specific. They're not saying you have to do it in Bangalore. They say you have to do it in Whitefield because my office is in Whitefield in Bangalore. That's and Whitefield has more NGOs than schools.
I fully agree with what you are saying. So the government, a lot of representations have already been made. What I try and tell everybody is that if and when it changes, good for all of us, right? While it is not changing, let us not waste time. Let us also work with those corporates, because I know hundreds of corporates who are working beyond their areas also, and that's a fact and that's a data. So some of them who are not working, while we try and make them understand and get the government to change, the wiser thing also is not waste time, because the need of the people is there. We must make representations, but we cannot just keep complaining. We need to be positive and move forward.
There's no question of wasting time.
Right.
It's a recommendation, since you work with the government.
We do that. It's already done.
If this is removed, it would be helpful. As simple
In
as that.
fact, from the MMA also, in fact, as a recommendation note from the MMA also, through this conference, we could send some notes, and I'll be happy to champion it as well. We can do that.
The second one is also not a question but a recommendation, following up on what Mr. Ramesh said. See, when I'm fresh out of college, companies have faith in me and recruit me. But if I'm a fresh NGO, why are you assuming that they don't have faith in me? Leave it to the company. If they have faith, allow them to invest in me. If they don't have faith, that's fine. So
You can make that recommendation. It was hugely debated in the beginning. I can tell you what happened in the beginning, and then that could give us some learning. The income tax people were very clear about some of these things, that if you have income tax acknowledgements and returns, it gives them some kind of extra validation even to the auditors in the company. Now, because monies are involved here, what you are saying is ethics, morals, and which is good to encourage, and I am in agreement with it. In such a situation, you have to also balance between, there are three ministries we are concerning here. There is a Home Ministry for FCRA, there is an IT income tax, which is finance, and there is the Ministry of Corporate Affairs. Lots of representations have gone, lots of amendments have come in the last 8 years. These FAQs are also part of that. You will also find that the rules and the amendments have changed basis of some evaluations and recommendations of high level committees of the ministry, where majority representatives are corporates themselves. You have corporates and corporate associations part of these committees which are making these recommendations. Otherwise, how do you run a country? You will have to have representative bodies making those recommendations. No? Basis those committees have made those recommendations, and then these changes have happened. Now, after that, if more is required, more recommendations would need to be done, say by an MMA or by CII or by FICCI. That is the only way that you can make those changes.
Yeah.
And one should keep trying. I am with you, because I also work with NGOs. I also feel that maybe some of these things could be left to the corporates to decide, and one should not restrict the corporates in their thought process. It has evolved to a particular level, but there are certain stumbling blocks which have not been crossed. Maybe they'll get crossed also, who knows. But we should keep trying.
Okay, thanks.
My submission will be submit the UC for the corporate affairs. In that way, this law can be exercised by saying, no, it can subject for scrutiny. Why are you?
Yeah, so your points are absolutely valid. I'm not denying them. But there are multiple factors that go into the final thing that comes into paper. And nobody is stopping us from making an effort, and representative bodies should do that. I am in favor of it, but as of now, it is not there. And as of now, while it is not there, what all can we do is what we are trying to say here. Yes.
Hello, I am Mani Chinnaswamy. I am from Pollachi, near Coimbatore. I run a family trust, 22 years, a school, and I am a third generation cotton man. Of late, I am in the process of growing cotton myself and also having a weaving handloom studio. And of late, we have seen there's a degradation of weavers community, not interested in taking up weaving anymore. That says a lot about our culture being lost. So like how the government has launched, anybody can become a priest, we also launched the program, anybody can become a weaver, because there are only 4 communities in Tamil Nadu which do weaving. They're all mentally tired, they're moving away. So I've taken SC, ST, women basically from skill development program and started training women, and after 45 days given them a central government certificate and formed them into a producer company.
Okay.
Now I've partnered with them and
Okay.
I want to take it forward
Right.
where these women should become my partner in my business.
Okay.
And these are not in the mainstream where they learn textile.
Okay.
So in 45 days, I want to squeeze in as much knowledge as possible. Let's say into textile, natural dyeing, and there is not even a single cotton museum in the country, even though we gave cotton
Okay.
and the textile to the world. So I'm lost in a wilderness where I don't have the resource to spend, but I want to take it forward where these women have woven tapestry of Prime Minister Modi in 4 days' time. And in
So what you're saying, Mani, is this that you've trained these women,
Yes.
and they are now having their SHGs,
producer company.
and those companies are registered entities.
Registered already.
And do they have some seed capital with them?
No, I'm providing right now. As
And you are wanting maybe if CSR can come in to help?
Yes.
So there is a way where you can do something, because a lot of these things are happening. Now these producer companies don't fall into any of these. That's your question, I can understand. So what you could do is, if you have, yours is an NGO?
Yeah, I run an NGO
So-
which runs a school.
So your NGO could develop a project, and suppose I am the funder. I would be willing to fund you to further support these people.
Okay.
Yes. So if I am supposed to give them money directly, which the law prevents, nothing prevents me from giving it to you, where you say I want to capacity build them, I want to buy sewing machines for deployment, etc. So then that kind of capex money need not be given to the for-profit over there, because that the law doesn't allow. It doesn't allow for various reasons, because there are more misuses than proper uses. So the law will have to be all encompassing. But your NGO can come to a donor and talk about outside support for these companies to take off to then become sustainable on market basis. That's what you are trying, I think. But you are not able to kickstart because they are very
I
nascent.
have a track record of
And
running
there
a
are
school.
corporates who are supporting these initiatives, let me tell you. I'll be happy to connect you to some of them also if you are interested, who want to support such NGOs, who can then not provide them money, but with training, with capital support in kind. Now if I give you some, say for sewing machines, for example, the capex may remain in your name because the capital asset has to be transferred as per the new amendments, but the usage could be in their factories or in their locations. You could then tell the corporate donor very clearly about these things. So that's why I'm saying, within the framework of the legislations, there are ways and means by which you can still do the work that you want to do. Why some of the areas are prevented is this, that otherwise misuse becomes more than the use. While you may feel that why is my voice not being heard, from the other side, the law can only be one. It can't be too many for so many. That's the unfortunate part of it.
Luckily,
The enabling part of the legislation is this, that it gives us a leeway if we've understood how to utilize it. Also, as I will tell you in the next section, there are some key players within the corporate who need to be kept in confidence and who need to understand what is happening. Okay, we have one more question there, and then we can go to the next section. Radha, could you just help me? There was one FAQ which talks about local area thing, and then there is a government answer. Just if you can just take it out.
Hi, Mr. Pant. This is Harish Prasad. I work for the Squash Federation.
Yes, good to meet you, Harish.
Yes. So my question is in the schedule 7, point number 7. I want to know what all activities.
Yeah,
or
I knew that
events-
squash would. Yeah.
What all activities?
So the
fall under
good, so
CSR?
the good news, Harish, is this. Which one is that now? Training to promote rural sports. So now squash in your case is a nationally recognized sport because you are going in Commonwealth Games and you are going in Asian Games.
Yes.
Olympics you are yet to go because it's not yet qualified. So training to promote squash is permitted, and under the new amendment, which I will share with you, the new amendment clearly says another thing, that CSR should be done only within the geography of India, except any activity undertaken by the company outside India not permitted, except for training of Indian sports personnel representing any state or UT at national or India at international level. So suppose your squash team is going to Commonwealth Games, right? And 12 months prior, you want to send all of them, so the Commonwealth is in Glasgow?
Yes. No,
So,
Birmingham.
Birmingham, okay. So 12 months ago, you wanted to send them to say England to acclimatize. And there is a bill from some academy coming in pounds. So convert it into Indian rupees, and suppose a corporate is approached, they can support you for training because they are training for an international event outside the geography of India, and the activity is happening outside India. Otherwise, all activities need to be within the geography of India to qualify under CSR. And this is an exception.
Got it.
Have you got the answer for that?
I got it, but I want to know whether international events happening in India can fall under the CSR.
So, see, it again says, if you see if any corporate is asked to sponsor a tournament, it also says activities supported by companies on sponsorship basis for deriving marketing benefits for its products and services is not permitted. But if you are having an ongoing development program and you can show this tournament as part of that ongoing program, then it can be part of a larger project, but not as a one-off event or an activity.
Okay. So if it is a...
So again, isn't there a way to go around it? There is a way to go around it if I understand the law. That is what I am trying to tell everybody here. We have to understand how to go around it, to weave through it, rather than say that I can't do it, the law is too bad. Every law will have some pluses and minuses, but how best can we leverage it is what we should try to do. If you can make a project, it could be a 3-month project also. You can even say that my children are training here, and if I do this international tournament here, my children will get good exposure. And then there will be some follow-up planning in diet, in nutrition, in health, and whatever. Make a 3-month project. In between 10 days, there is a tournament. It's okay. The project could be 1 month also. Who's saying it has to be a 12-month project? A project has to have a start date, an end date, a budget, a time, outcome, etc.
Understood, clear.
Is that okay? Yeah. So local area, because that question was being asked. So with regard to what is the, which one is that? 3.9, no? So because the local area thing was this, there was this clear. Have you read the FAQs otherwise? No. So I will just read the local area. I think somebody else had also asked. The question the government is being asked is whether it is mandatory for companies to carry out CSR in their local areas. You also asked that question, sir, right? So now the ministry's answer is this. This is their answer. The first provision to section 135(5) of the Act provides that the company shall give preference to local areas, which in my view also is a bit of a blunder. They shouldn't have written this. Shall give preference to local areas and the areas around where it operates. Some activities in Schedule 7 such as welfare activities for war widows, art and culture and other similar activities transcend geographical boundaries and are applicable across the country. With the advent of ICT, information and technology and communication, and emergence of new age businesses like e-commerce, which means like an Infosys or a TCS or an HCL or a Wipro, e-commerce companies, process outsourcing companies and aggregator companies, it is becoming increasingly difficult to determine the local area. So the government itself is kind of countering itself. The spirit of the Act is to, now let us read this carefully, the spirit of the Act is to ensure that CSR activities are aligned with the national priorities and enhance engagement of the corporate sector towards achieving sustainable development goals. It further goes to say, thus, the preference to local area in the Act is only directory and not mandatory in nature, and companies need to balance local area preference with national priorities. So the government has given its own clarifications. This you can share with some of the donors who are refusing. If they still are adamant, representations can be made and one can try. But this is the clarification which has come basis a lot of the representations which have been made.
So just one point.
Yeah.
Now, since you read this, I'm just wondering, reading between the lines, not, it said it is difficult to identify the local area is what it said with the advent of...
With the advent of ICTs and all of that, yeah.
Which is kind of indirectly saying I would prefer local area, but now since it's becoming difficult, I really don't know. It's an indirect message saying you better do in local area. If...
No, it is not saying that at all, no.
See, Otherwise, why would it
No, no.
even say...
Do you think it is doing that?
See,
it is not.
See, it is more reading between the lines, because why should it even say it is becoming difficult?
It is saying balance. See, you please just read
See,
it.
the
Read
line,
it.
see, that's what I feel it's
So
contradicting
we'll
itself.
talk more about it, but I have given you the answer. Let's take it forward. Let's take it forward. There is a way out, and hundreds and thousands of companies are doing it. And there is data to validate that also. Any more questions? Because then I go to the next part.
Hi, I'm Sam Nicholas from WOW Educare. It's a social impact venture startup.
Startup, okay.
Yeah, startup.
All right.
So my first question is now where we are coming into the picture, this eligible thing. Okay,
Yeah.
Number 6. Number 1. Number 2, fortunately, we are just an year-old organization, startup. Thanks to MMA and Captain also, they have engaged us for a wonderful project.
Right.
Ours is a very impactful and sustainable projects, all our projects. And in the last 1 year, close to about 5 multinational companies and Indian companies, they have engaged us, even though we are not an NGO. But we are missing big grants or maybe projects from big foundations or companies. Is there any way out where legally we can have a collaboration with the existing NGO, where they don't have a project, where we have a good number of impactful projects?
So you are saying, sir, that you have a for-profit, which
Yes.
now needs lots of funds,
Yeah.
but you don't qualify directly. So
Yeah.
can there be NGOs to which you can plug on?
Yeah.
Absolutely, why not?
Okay.
So there could be NGOs who have a similar mandate. As I gave the answer to somebody, I gave to Mr. Money over there. So and I'll be happy to guide any one of you, just be in touch, you will share my contact. These are proven models now, and compliance is going through with it. The NGO can develop a project where the need assessment shows that this incubatee or this startup will lead to so many good results, which are then getting covered, say maybe in bullet number 2, say livelihood enhancement, because a startup may lead to livelihood enhancement of, suppose you do e-rickshaw, and then lot of people can start riding rickshaws. Those are self-employment. It can generate livelihood. So you can weave a story and take it to the NGO, which then brings it to the donor and presents a Schedule 7 activity, and you get the funds.
Yeah, sorry. Thank you.
Then the NGO then you will raise an invoice with GST to the NGO. So if your e-rickshaw is 100 rupees and GST is 18 rupees, you will raise an invoice of 118 multiplied by 1000 e-rickshaws and then submit it as a proposal to the donor.
Okay.
Are you getting it?
Yeah, correct.
Okay.
No, so legally it is allowed. No,
Yeah. Perfectly.
There is a provision also.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, absolutely. Any other questions?
I just wanted to tell him that we have a real life example where we have a for-profit that is associated with us, and we are a not-for-profit.
So please connect. You have a case study. Thank you, ma'am.
Company. So we do have examples of taking livelihoods to a scaled-up model, and for-profit was there for capacity building. So we were able to scale up the model.
So the purpose, I think, such forums, Group Captain, is also that people can connect with each other. And as I said, we will share all the material. You should connect with each other, magnify the benefit. And again, going back to the core point, the law is very enabling. We must share our examples also, and then magnify the goodness. That is the key. We have to be positive towards an enabling legislation. Okay, so now we go to the second part, because we are now for about 50 minutes. Yes, ma'am, you have a question there. I will now go to the amendment, but before that.
So I'm also one of Nikhil's students.
Yeah.
My name is Anu Oza, associated with an organization called Sevalaya. Nikhil, I've often wondered about the purpose of this act, as the development outlay of the CSR in India is 20,000 crores.
Yeah.
Are you allowed to actually fund groups of NGOs so that the impact is higher, and therefore the impact of the development outlay, which is a percentage of GDP, is higher?
So again, you've hit the nail on the head. The rules also say two things. I will tell you, I will read out the amended rules, which I am not showing here because there are just too many of them. One of the rules very clearly says, and let me read it out. What they are saying is company to companies, a TVS may collaborate with an Ashok Leyland, for example, to do a common project. That is what they are saying, but your question is a little different. I will come to that also, but let me first tell you what the rule is saying. A company may also collaborate with other companies for undertaking projects or programs or CSR activities in such a manner. Now the next part, which is, now this rule is applicable to companies, but the next part of the rule is what needs to be kept by two NGOs if they want to work together. Just hear me carefully. In such a manner that the CSR committee of the respective companies are in a position to report separately on such projects or programs in accordance with these rules. So what the rules are saying is, if there are two companies who want to fund Nikhil Pant NGO, NP NGO, I can take from the, and my project is one project of say greening somewhere in Chennai. My project is one. I take that into A company and to B company, and A plus B is my project funding, but the NGO is one over here, right? Now, when I get A rupees and B rupees and I spend it as A plus B for greening Chennai, I should be able to report to A company for the A rupees received and to B company for the B rupees, because A has to report to ministry the A spending that it has done and B has to report. Now A plus B is coming to me and it is big money, suppose. I can bring in a couple of more NGOs also together to say that there is XYZ NGOs here and there is company A and B there. Now XYZ can create a consortium also and then go to A and then go to B together for getting A plus B. But there has to be perfect clarity so that in the end A should be able to report for A money spent and B should be able to report for B money spent, because that is the law's perspective. The key point here to keep in mind is that XYZ, because they comply with 12A and ATG also, income tax is also to be kept in mind, because each of these NGOs have to report through income tax filings. So the chartered accountants should be consulted very, very clearly when these consortiums are created. Okay? All right, so now we go. So the time is 1 hour more now. So the next 10 minutes is going to be a Q&A where I am going to ask you questions now. Okay, I hope all of you have been making some notes. So this will be a bit of an open book also, and you can ask me to turn to that slide if you need some help and then to give me an answer. Are you all ready? Can we do some, who would like to do a blind? Who will raise their hand to answer any question? Anybody there? Not you, because you are a student. You also not eligible. Not Mr. Krishna, sorry, not my student. Okay, ma'am, good, very good. So, ma'am, can you tell me, where's the mic? Can you tell me, ma'am, how many people are there in the CSR committee and what are their roles?
Okay. There will be 3 directors. 2 directors from the company and 1 will be an independent.
Very good question. Very good answer. Very good. Let's give her a hand. No, she said 1 independent. Can we ask you, sir? Can I ask you? Okay. What is the role of the independent director?
Independent director can take individual decisions without biasing.
Good, good, good. Not take individual decisions, maybe just say unbiased decisions, because he or she will still consult the other people, but he cannot be influenced because he is not taking money from the company, right? Good, very good. Thank you so much. Yes, Radha?
So I just had an observation on this forming the CSR board. So as per the law, not all companies essentially need to have a CSR committee. It depends on the type of company.
Thank you. And can you just highlight that particular rule? So there are some companies who are required to have only 2-member boards.
Yeah.
Then they need not have an independent director. That's also part of the law. So when you read the law, actually I am not showing the whole law, otherwise it will take the whole day. You should read the law very carefully when I share those documents, please. It is there in the FAQ also, yes. So there are few of those changes which you will learn when you read the law. Here the purpose is to do more of the core concepts. Okay, next question is, ma'am, would you like to answer? Easy or difficult question? Okay, let me just ask you a question. I will put the slide over here. Okay, a question on this slide. tell me, can you give me an example in your understanding of bullet number 3 or bullet number 4? Would you be knowing any organization or any bullet number 3? I gave one example of each myself also. Do you remember? Anybody remembers? Shh, don't speak out of turn. Be a disciplined class, please.
You have quoted one such Rajiv Gandhi Institute
Rajiv Gandhi
Foundation.
No, university, which is Sri Perumbudur, somebody said over it. Sri Perumbudur, yes. Which category is it, 3 or 4? 4, very good, very good. Any example of 3, category number 3? Yes?
The Atal Innovation Mission established under Niti Aayog.
Now, the Atal Innovation Mission is it an NGO of any kind? Is it an 1860
No,
society?
it's a government initiative.
That may come in the 6th point.
But Atal Innovation Mission Incubator Centers comes under 6th point. The mission itself will come under central or state government.
But, very valid point. But if you say number 3, it will come. Is it a trust, society or a company?
Oh.
Yes. 1, 2, 3, 4 ka common is the brown area.
Okay.
The Venn diagram is the common area.
Got it.
Yes, yes ma'am.
We had Kapat of Rural Ministry.
Yeah, Kapat. Kapat would come under 3. Can you just write down Kapat? C-A-P-A-R-T, all of you. C-A-P-A-R-T. You can do a Google search also. This is a rural development. Just speak it out. What is the full form?
It's Council for Advancement of People and Rural Technology.
Action, People's Action and Rural Technology. Thank you so much. And well, we have hundreds and thousands of examples of 2, which no point. And number 1, obviously, we know a lot of corporate foundations. Okay, so now over here, can anybody tell me what is a slum area? Should I say that, okay, I am just driving down Chennai, this road, Anna Salai, and I see some jhopad-pattis, okay, this is a slum and I can do a slum area project. Is there a way to define what is a slum? How do we know that some area is a slum?
It could be a place where some thatched houses or kacha houses are there without any clean sanitation.
Basic amenities and all.
Basic amenities.
So that is pretty right, but normally and always remember, as far as CSR slum area is concerned, it is to be defined by the municipal organization or the DC office or whatever. They will allocate certain notified areas, they are called. They have to be notified as slum areas. One minute.
Number of people residing per square meters or square feet is defined as a slum.
So there would be some area to be notified and there would be some regulation for that. In Chennai, what is happening?
Chennai, they have slum board is now developing more tenements. So slums are reduced nowadays.
Achha, is that so?
Yes.
Okay, so whatever, all I am saying is that this needs to be a notified area by the community or by the district administration over there. Yes. Yeah, it would be below poverty line, I am sure. Can you just pass on the mic there? Yeah. So, yes. When I send you the document, these are all hyperlinks. And the green one will be some notification, green will be some notification. So here I have just done a copy paste. When you read the PDF and you take the mouse, it will take you to the MCA website. So these notifications also are links to the MCA website, so that when you click, you can go there and then you can understand what that is. Okay? All right, I think we are pretty much done with the first part. Board ho gaya, this is done. Okay, now we go to the next part. I hope the first part, which is this one, about CSR. Are you all better understanding CSR now? Yes. Now should I ask my first question again, which I began with? Can I ask that question? How many of you have heard section 135 and know about CSR? Please raise your hands. Keep raising your hand, and how many of you want funds? So there is some common area now. Thank you so much. Okay. But that doesn't mean that a TVS will give you funds tomorrow or anybody. You have to be good enough. You have to be good enough. You have to be good enough to understand the community and then go to do some research. There is a website, write down csr.gov.in, which Mr. Krishnaswamy will tell about. He will take you inside the gold mine. I am telling you that there is a gold mine. Let's put it that way. I am telling you that there is a gold mine. There are rules to access the gold mine, but what all is inside the gold mine, he is going to tell you. I think that is going to happen after lunch, right? So, after eating lunch, if you want to run away, you have left the gold behind. Are you getting my point? So, you have to see how the data is there. That's the catch. Okay? Now, I go to this one. Now, this is the major thing that has happened from January 2021, and I am calling it CSR 2.0. What I have done over here, now that my class knows some CSR, I can take you to an amendment to CSR. If I don't even know CSR, how do I know the amendment? That is why I spent the first hour in doing those basics. It's like if you don't know art, how can you do modern art? You first need to know art. Okay, it is just not like, painting left, right and center. There is some thought behind it. So since 1st of April 2014, the law came into being, by which more than 15,000 companies have to comply on CSR, and maybe around 20,000, and 20 to 25,000 crores of rupees every year is spent on CSR. So what these companies have to do is they have to report to the MCA under a tool called MCA 21. Write down MCA 21. MCA 21 is a reporting tool. Just like we file income tax returns, the companies have to file this return also. There is a tool or form you will have to ask your CA called AOC 4. AOC, Accounting of Companies -4. Ask your CA what it is. If your CA doesn't know the answer, change your CA. Sorry to say. Ask your CA some difficult questions, then you go back home. AOC, Accounting of Companies, the Accounts of Companies -4, AOC 4. Okay? Keep asking questions. You ask me, I'll ask you, you ask your CA. Your corporate donors will ask you, and if we have good answers, we'll go through. Now, 2 high-level committees were set up, one in 2015 and one in 2018, and these high-level committees were including NGOs, corporate bodies, senior people from the civil society and government. Because what the government attempted was, and I was there in the government from 2012 to 17, I was part of the first high-level committee, not as part of the committee, as part of the IICA, which was part of the committee. I was part of the think tank. There were 10 or 15 of us within the IICA, which got feedbacks about whether the companies are following the rules or not. Should we change the rules? Should we make amendments? So the 2015 committee said, no, this is too early. 2014 only they have started 1 year, how do we get to know? Let's sit once again after 3 years. So they sat again in 2018. There was a high-level committee. You can write down HLC CSR 2018. Whatever keywords I am giving you, please go and do a Google and read them. If you read them, your understanding will become stronger. Mark my words. The second committee in 2018 took 1 year till 2019, August. So there is a detailed report, high-level committee report, which I will also share with you. HLC 2019 report of August, where lots of recommendations are there. Now, this committee recommended to the MCA, please make these changes, please amend the rules, because this is the voice of the people coming into the government. So the government then prepared a draft rules, amendment rules in 2019-20, and they were uploaded. And you know what happened? First set of rules, huge tamasha happened, because they said that you need to be a Section 8 only if you can get funds, otherwise trusts and societies will not get CSR money. Even that came in the draft. So we all got bewildered by why this is happening. Huge, some thought, some vague kind of a thought it was, or whatever it was. And then COVID happened. Janta curfew happened on 22nd or 23rd of March 2020. And then next couple of years has been very difficult. But they came out with the amendments in January 2021, and this is this document which I will share with you. This is the Gazette notification. Write down, you can make a note of it. Gazette notification dated 22nd January 2021. We will share this with you also. This is a comprehensive set of rules, after which the CSR became mandatory. Before this, CSR was if 100 rupees I had, I could spend 80 and say 20 I can't spend and give some reasons. Now it says if only 80 you can spend, 20 rupees you have to spend. Either you can continue if there's an ongoing project, or you give it to the government in 1 month, in 6 months time. So spending became mandatory. Isn't that a big change? It is a big change for NGOs. That's why I'm telling all of you, please understand the rules. Now, along with this, a lot of other changes were made, and I'm summarizing them in the next few slides. I will not go very technical because you will start getting confused, because it will be too much breakfast, lunch, dinner into 10 days multiplied within 2 hours. You will all need Hajmola after that. So I don't want to do that. I will tell you what all it is. I will give you the core part of these amendments and then share the material with all of you. Okay. Now, what are the 5 mega trends? Last 8 years, I am sharing this as an analyst because I was part of the policy framework, and now I am watching how it is evolving. I am also part of an NGO, and I also advise corporates, many corporates and governments I am advising. So these are 5 big trends. The first trend is, or this is a reality rather, CSR spending is now mandatory, which I just told you. Number 2 is, the spending time frames are now finite time periods. It means, as I told you, if you are to continue to spend those 20 rupees, you get 3 years to do it. Those are called ongoing projects. You can write down ongoing projects. If I can't even allocate 20 rupees out of 100 before 31st March, the government is saying, okay, pranam, namaste, you give me the 20 rupees. You put it into any one of these funds. Any of them, your choice. So the government is not telling you, you put it into PM Cares. Government is not telling you, give it to me. Government is saying, if you can't spend it, I'll take it, you give it to us. So the first choice is the corporate's choice. A lot of misinformation and disinformation was spread around this. Now it's a public sector, they may want to give it to PM Cares because, or a PM Relief Fund or a government fund because they are government companies. A lot of companies chose to give, a lot of companies did not give. The first choice is yours as a company, okay? Number 3, which is very, very important for all of you. NGOs are partners in implementation and compliance. You are no longer mere partners in implementation, you are partners in compliance also, because if you go to a corporate and he asks you a question that I asked you in the morning, do you know section 135, and you don't raise your hand, he will say the door is that side, sir or ma'am, because then I am scared. Because if I give you 100 rupees and you mess it up, then there is going to be a huge fine on me. Shall I call out the fine? The fine is this, and this is part of the law which is passed by the Lok Sabha and the Rajya Sabha. No one political party. This is the law of the land. I am reading out the fine. Why is the corporate scared? If a company is in default in complying with provisions of subsection 5 or subsection 6, subsection 5 means if you can't spend those 20 rupees to give it to government and you have not given it to government. And number 6 is, if you want to spend, you get 3 more years to spend. The company shall be liable to a penalty of twice the amount required to be transferred to the, there has to be an unspent CSRA account where you have to put the money so that the government can track that money. So if your 20 rupees was under consideration, your fine will be 20 into 2, 40 rupees. So suppose it was 1 crore, there's a fine of 2 crore rupees. Okay? The shall be, let me just complete, shall be liable to a penalty of twice the amount required to be transferred by the company to the fund specified in Schedule 7 or the unspent CSRA account as the case may be, or 1 crore rupee, whichever is less. So maximum penalty is 1 crore rupees. Okay? And every officer of the company who is in default shall be liable to a penalty of 1/10 of the amount. And every officer is then liable till up to maximum 10 lakh rupees. So there is a big penalty also involved. So what I am trying to say here is that NGOs are now partners in compliance also. In bold I am writing. And that is why I am pulling your leg since the morning. It is for your benefit. Because if you understand the law and the compliance better, your confidence of the donor will go up, your work should be good, your chances of getting the money go up. Are you now following why I began that way? It's all being to make you more compliant with the rules which are there, and also to prepare you, because tomorrow there may be another circular, let me tell you. You all have got form CSR 1. And this is my thought process, that very soon NGOs may be asked to report their CSR spending to the MCA also. Right now we are not doing it, we are only filing our income tax returns. My thought is, Section 8 companies are reporting because they are companies under ministry. But 1860 societies and trusts, we don't submit anything to the MCA. But we now have submitted form CSR 1. Tomorrow they may want us to submit the CSR related expenditure to the government, because that's coming in from the corporates who are also reporting, and they may want to tally the two. They may want to tally the two. I can see that happening. Okay. Yes, yes. Can I just finish 2 more points in this slide? Now, point number 4 and 5 is under the CSR 2.0, government role in monitoring has become very tight, and people are not liking it. But what I try and tell all corporates is this: you will be in discomfort if you don't plan. Please synchronize your grant cycle with the financial year cycle. If you are a good corporate, your next year annual action plan should be ready by January, February, March of 2022 for financial year 22-23. Most corporates, I am working with at least 10 corporates today, and out of those 10, one has signed an MOU, and I am in July for this financial year. 3 months have gone. I am sure many of you may be facing similar situations, where as an NGO I am going to get 8 months to spend money for 12 months, and they want me to finish my project by March because otherwise fine will be there. So I am telling them, please make them ongoing projects more than 12 months, more than the financial year. They don't want to go ongoing, they want to finish it by March. So as an NGO I tell them, then how do I complete 12 months work in 8 months? Because you are signing the MOU so late. So it is very important that corporates and NGOs work together and make sure that there is complete synchronization. That is a very, very key requirement. And the 5th point is, government is now actively engaging in utilizing CSR in a constructive way. You have Goa CSR Authority, you have Gujarat CSR Authority. I am sure Tamil Nadu must be doing a lot of, like today the Tamil Nadu government representatives were here. Today I am seeing, after 8 years of the law, when it began, government was more like a referee or an inspector, let me tell you, to see whether it is done or not. And corporates were saying that, yeah, sure. You can go, you don't have to ask me, it's not a class like that. Don't take it that seriously. Okay, so the government is today actively using CSR, and the corporates are using it for business growth also. Corporates are reporting this in their RFPs when they are submitting business proposals. They are in their ESG reports also, environment, social and governance. Have you heard of ESG? ESG, SDGs, these are important areas. Okay, so this was my first slide. Yes, your question, sir, now.
Sir, you have a number of choices. If a corporate decides, if I give to PM Care, I'm getting 100% tax exemption.
Yeah.
If it gives to an NGO, there'll be the tax, that exemptions are lesser. Do you have any points on that?
Very good question. Again, you are asking very good questions, it seems, because you are doing a lot of this work. So corporates, when they give it to PM Care or any government fund, they lose control. And often when they go to their shareholders, they don't have any story to tell to their shareholders or to their consumers. So they prefer to not worry too much about this taxation matter. They rather spend this money and gain business gain also by communicating the good work they are doing, because then the money is in their control. The moment they give it to government, they lose the control. Then the government will take credit for it.
No, since you are mentioning about the planning and all the executing and all that,
Yeah.
the company decides why are we sketching out?
They can, but they don't.
Throw the money there and
They can,
set
but,
the issue.
no, but please. So, there is data also on this. You will be happy to know that companies cannot randomly decide also. They have to also satisfy their shareholders.
There are a lot of corporates, they say we are giving only for PM Care. Please don't come.
When you say lot of corporates, there are 20,000 corporates. Huh? How many are those? Mr. Krishnaswamy will tell you more about it. The larger data conveys that corporates are keen to keep the control. Either mostly is through NGOs, I think, and through their own foundations also. But they have the freedom, they can do what you are saying, but it is not happening that way. Okay. So this is the first slide which talks about the larger trends that are happening. Yes, there is a question there.
Yeah, but my name is Ramesh from Anandam Youth Foundation. So you're talking about the finite time periods. So usually the foundation like us, we receive funds only towards the financial year end. For example, March is the time period.
That is now going to be of the past. If they continue to do that, then they are going to be in grave danger, let me tell you, because if they give you towards March for that year, then they cannot report it as spending.
Yeah, but no.
It is now going to change.
Is there any law? Or is
Yeah,
there
why have I come from Delhi to do this session?
Okay.
That's the reason why I am here.
For implementation agencies
Yeah,
to help,
so
otherwise we don't have
that
time
is
to
the
do.
reason why I am trying to tell you that a corporate which is giving you in March is just doing a tick box exercise so far, and it is defeating the purpose of the law. What was the purpose of the law? That if I am a corporate and I make some profits, I began that way, I should spend some money for the community. This is like throwing it into the dustbin in the end of the year and showing it that I have spent the money, whereas the NGO is not spending it. How can you spend it in 1 month?
Right,
You can't. But what they can do is, they can allocate to you, give you 10 rupees out of 100 by before March and put 90 rupees into an unspent CSRA account, and then you have 3 years to spend that money. As you spend, they will give you. As they give you, you spend. Advance utilization certificate. Advance utilization certificate, you get 3 years. That's what I'm trying to tell you over here. They should be giving you this money in the month of April.
Right.
Yes. And not March, because they were unplanned.
But it happens for the smaller organization. They have the typical behavior towards
They will. So again, if they're CAs, they need to change their CAs if they are not being guided properly, because now they will be penalized, or the government will take the money. Then you will say the government is doing this and the government is doing. Arey Baba, who's asking you? You read the law. You plan. You're not planning. See, if you don't plan and then you raise a humdrum that everything is against me, then nobody can help you. The corporates have changed their policies. The corporates have now, they are mandated to make annual action plans also. Okay? Okay. Any more question? I am now going to go deeper into the next 2 slides.
So
Yes.
shall we?
Yes, at the back. Because now, now I am going to take you deeper into this amendment so that you now understand. You are doing BTech and MTech today at the same time, by the way. So now you are doing MTech every month. So I will take you more technical, more deeper in the next 40 minutes. And no separate Q&A because I am taking question answers as we are going. Yes, sir.
My question to you is...
Your name and organization.
I am Dr. Vasudevan. I am CSR consultant for MMA.
Okay.
My question is, I am taking it from the point that was raised earlier. The payment is being received in the month of March.
Right.
And if it is going to be given for an ongoing project, is it acceptable? But as long as you have a three-year window of having it expended, is that possible for an ongoing project to be received and still show it as a...
So, okay, so I think I'll have to now that we are all jumping the syllabus, but then that's okay because we are already in part of the MTech part now. So I will answer you now, okay. Let me give you an example, Dr. Vasudevan. Suppose I have to give you 100 rupees, right? And I should have given that to you in the month of April. Suppose that 100 rupees is part of my CSR budget of 1000 rupees of FY 22-23, okay. My budget of FY 22-23 was 1000 rupees, okay. And I am the donor and you are my NGO and I am supposed to give you 100 rupees in April.
Okay.
And I am giving it to you in March.
Okay.
Is that what you are saying?
Yes.
Now, under the new law, under the new rule, I should, if I allocate 100 rupees to you in March, I should not give you all the 100 rupees in March now. I should sign an MOU. In my MOU, I will say only 20 days are left in March. I am going to give you 5% rupees, 5 rupees dunga. I will give you 5 rupees right now. Till 31st March, you send me the utilization certificate from your CA of 5 rupees.
Okay.
And on 31st March, from 1st April to 31st April 2022, I will put 95 rupees into another account called an escrow account.
Yeah.
It is a dividend account.
Yeah.
I will put 95 rupees over there.
Okay.
Now I have 95 rupees over there. I can give this money to you over 3 years' time.
Okay.
And not make you do everything to complete it within or whatever.
Yes.
Now, when I am reporting to the government, I will report 5 rupees, not 100. Yes.
That's
now you see the change.
Yeah, yeah.
Earlier, what I was doing was, I was giving you 100 rupees in March and reporting that 100 is spent. Also, what was happening was, this 100 rupees was going from a corporate to its own foundation. I know of some foundations who had hundreds of crores of rupees reported as spent and lying in FDs in the corporate foundation.
Okay.
We saw the data. So, how do you create a situation where either you spend it or you give it? Who's saying to you to give me the money? The government is not saying. But the government is saying be transparent and be honest. To which the people are saying the government is unfair. So you are fair to report non-spending as spending, that is fair. And when the government says that if you don't spend, we would like to spend, then you say government is unfair.
Okay, as a
is the first part answered?
Yeah, clear.
You will give me 9 out of 10 or 10 out of 10?
11 out of 10.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay. You have to give me marks also because I'm going to ask, if you are asking me questions, please give me marks.
Sure.
Okay.
I am also a faculty. I love it.
Okay, next question.
My next question is, so as a corporate, from the corporate point of view, I'm looking at it. So if I have to spend that 100 rupees, but I have, if I give it to the NGO, I can give only 5. So my utility certificate is only for 5. What I'm going to account for 95, which I should have otherwise spent. So my obvious is instead of giving 5 rupees and then, why not give this 100 rupees in the month of March to PM CARES and finish it off?
Okay.
Is that
that
the only option?
Okay, 1 minute. So when you do that one time, then you will have a shareholder meeting and I am one of your shareholders.
Okay.
I will ask you, Dr. Vasudevan, why should I not kick you? Why should you be in this company when you are not doing your work? Why did you not? 1 minute, I am your shareholder now.
Okay.
I will ask you, because I will read the law and come to the shareholder meeting. Okay?
Yeah.
I am going to ask you, when you knew your budget in April, and if your CA did not tell you the budget in April, then you change why did you not change your CA?
Okay.
I will ask you, why did you delay it for 8 months or 9 months to then go into March situation and then dump it or maybe spend it to whatever situation under compulsion? One time you have done it. But next time, please make sure your annual action plan, because you have made me jump the syllabus, so I will go up and down, up and down.
No.
1 minute.
Yeah.
So, read the annual action plan. Your annual action plan should be ready by March for FY 22-23 and the first disbursal should begin April.
April.
So, one time if you do, next time your shareholders are going to be after you. Because they will say, your decision to give to the PM fund is not by logic but by pressure. Isn't that so?
It is.
Tell me yes or no.
I won't agree fully.
No.
Now, for the simple reason,
No.
I'll tell you.
But why?
When you asked this question, have you done your job? You have not done your job properly.
Right.
I have done my job as per the rules of what has been permitted. That PM CAS is not, it is not a...
No, so...
I'm going by the rule books.
No, then, I will ask you as a shareholder who's done his homework, that did you mention this, that you will give it in March to PM case, did you mention this in April in your annual action plan? You will say no. Tell me.
I have not mentioned anything.
No, it is mandatory now, annual action plan.
Okay.
There is no way out, my dear friend.
Okay.
Now you will give...
Annual action plan is mandatory.
Yes. Now you will give me how many marks on this answer?
Abhi samajh liya, aap is important. Annual action plan.
Yes. Now you are getting it.
Okay.
That's why I have come from Delhi here.
Yeah. मान लिया
Please understand. Because the shareholder will see the report because the shareholder wants the shares to go up. That is the business case to CSR. The corporate is being asked, please understand, as a shareholder I have put my money into shares. Now this company is doing good business. It is doing good business to then qualify under this or this. Am I putting my money to buy the shares or not? And I am listed in the stock exchange. I will get all information. The shareholders are becoming very, very aware. Let me tell you, shareholder and the Nifty is doing those trainings. I worked with the Bombay Stock Exchange to the ministry. I know it. They have L&D programs. The shareholder knows what is happening. Now the shareholder ma'am would like to know if there was a law and there was an amendment, then why was my company where I am putting my money for shares not better planned? Where if they were planned, maybe they could have done good CSR, that could have led to good business, that could have raised my share value and made me richer. Should I not ask that question? So there is a business case to CSR which has to be thought through. And that is where I am requesting all of you to understand, we are all educated, but we are somewhere missing the game.
I just have a point to make.
Yes, Radha.
So there is one CSR company which told me that their
Can we have the mic please, baby?
that their accretion has gone up now because they have not been a socially conscious organization.
It will happen. Young India, let me tell you, you see lot of fellowships. There is a Clinton fellowship, there is a Teach for India. There are, so many young Indians, Ashoka fellowship, Ashoka University. You will find a lot of young Indians wanting to go into the development sector. I travel around, I am working with a lot of IIMs. I am Udaipur the other day, I was with them, the youngsters. There is a Mahatma Gandhi National Fellowship which works for 2 years, who works with district collectors. Can these youngsters be taught some of this so that the district collector, when he or she is making the district development plan, can they embed the CSR programs in the district to achieve better results? That is what the law's purpose is. The purpose of the law is how the shareholder money can catalyze the taxpayer's money. The government spending is taxpayer money, the CSR 2% is shareholder money. This 2% has to be like a surgical strike, Balakot strike, where the 2% project of the NGO should be very impactful on the taxpayers programs if it is to partner government.
So the law also gives the corporate one more option. In the last minute, they can define a project as an ongoing project.
Yes, they can.
Provided they get the approval from the board.
Yes, absolutely.
Very good provision for this kind of situation.
And Dr. Vasudevan, that's why when you read the amendments and the FAQs, and that's why, we are conducting these courses also, and you all are most welcome to join. Our next batch will start in the, I think in the month of September or October. So Radha is here, maybe Radha's name she can help me get any names. It's a free of cost online course. On weekends we have our classes. Right now the 5th batch is running. We have a cohort of around 300 students across the country. We have Piramal Foundation, we've got Infosys Foundation, Adani Foundation, corporates, NGOs, students from TIS, students from Narsimunji. We try and tell them all of these things, because wherever we are, if we understand this, we can then make the corporates also understand, because this money can then be deployed in the best possible way.
So the corporates are not having a clear idea when it comes to NGOs. There are NGOs who are charging subsidized fee and subsidized cost for their services. There are institutions which are doing completely free of cost. But the corporates are not having a different yardstick. They only treat everyone equal, which is not fair. It's not a
So very valid point. Again you are speaking from experience, and I am with you because I also run an NGO. It is a battle, it's a struggle that has to go on, and that's why, as I said, my effort, my little humble effort is to travel around and make people understand this legislation and see how we can leverage and enable it as much as possible. Wherever change is required, we must write to the ministry and MMA like organizations. When they write,
why the law is so lenient? Why can't it be very clear? You have to do.
no, but the law cannot micromanage the corporate, please. The law will not tell the corporate whom to treat how. That is the corporate's money. That at that point the government doesn't, because then the corporate will say you are micromanaging. So that the government will not like to do at all. That is the prerogative of the corporate, and therefore it is important for the corporate to understand the letter and spirit of the law and then make fair decisions.
The corporates are not allowed to patronage any religious service activity. They are not going to fund.
That's because that's very political, either politics also you are not supposed to do it as per the law. It is mentioned clearly.
That is the case, why not they insist on, because when there are so many institutions which they are doing completely free. Service.
No, but your project should be justifiable, and the corporates are open enough to discuss those things. Aisa nahi hai, it's not like that. Your points, see, there are different kinds of corporates also. Let me also tell another thing. Please, when you approach a corporate, you also see who's heading the CSR of that corporate. Is there a person who is from, yes, is that a person who understands the development sector, or is that person on a punishment posting over there? Because if that person is on a punishment posting, then you are the criminal actually. Then you have had it. So you have to do some research. So there are so many factors that go into developing a good fundraising strategy. Now my next 2 slides here.
I have a question. Sorry.
Yeah, sure.
So we know organization works on.
So by the way, we are at 12:33. I have exactly 27 minutes more, and then we have lunch after that. Okay. So in these 27 minutes, 1 minute. Now, should I go through this quickly in the next 10 minutes and then have some questions? Otherwise, syllabus छूट जाएगा मेरा. Syllabus पूरा करा दूँ? I must complete the syllabus? Okay, thank you so much. So, I will go a little faster here, and then I'll give you the textbook and you can read it yourself, okay? Now, because of these mega trends, there are 2 very important things that have happened. There are 11 important things that the corporates must keep in mind, and there are 6 important things that NGOs must keep in mind. I will focus on this in the next 10 minutes. Then I am going to show you a very interesting slide. And that is the slide where I bring you to the monies. We are here to get some funds from corporates. Yes or no? Yes. So I will show you this slide, which will tell you how the corporates take out their pockets, take out the money. You want to hear this slide more? Yes. Okay, so we are going to come to this slide also. So let me quickly finish. Radha and all this, they know this slide. This is my favorite slide. So I will not go into too many of the other in-between slides because you can study that. I will do this one, 11 points, 6 points, unspent CSRA, admin overheads, but this will cover everything, this slide. And annual action plan also will quickly just touch base or a bit of all of that. because the time is a little tight now. So these are the 5 mega trends that I told you, okay, as part of amendments after January 2021. Now, basis this, there are 11 major changes that are evident for the corporates, which all of you must understand. Because if you understand this, then your funding pitch will be right. So in this session, one of my other objectives is to also guide you on fundraising strategy. Because if your fundraising strategy is sound, then your chances of conversion go up. So I've already told you, there was a high level committee in 2015 and 18, which gave those recommendations, basis which all of this happened. Now, comply or explain is now comply and spend. We've already discussed this. Thus, CSR spending is now mandatory. We've discussed this. Higher board level accountability, transparency, monitoring, approvals and reporting. Now, board level, because I just told you there is a huge penalty. So, the board people are becoming a little more scared now, I am finding. And that is getting reflected on the CSR team. Therefore, when you go for funding, you should also convey to the donor that if you give me your money, your board members will be safe. I will do the teaching, learning, education, everything, but I will also make sure that none of your board members is getting a penalty. Because if you can give them that confidence, they will quickly take the next step. I am telling you live example. At least 10 to 15 donors I am dealing with right now, all of them immediately when they come to know that I am one of the people who did the law and he is running his own NGO, they feel a little bit more comforted. So if you also convey to them that you are aware about the law, maybe do some certifications also wherever you can and convince them that you are safe, they will feel more proactive. I can give it in writing to you. Number 4 is, I have already told you, now spending means allocation plus transfer of money plus utilization with the CA certificate with the UDIN number, UDIN, please write down. I hope you know what the UDIN number is, unique documentation identification number, that the CA will give you. So mere transfer of money is not spending, allocation is not spending, allocation plus transfer plus actual utilization with the UC is spending. Ongoing projects have been defined as 1 plus 3 years. I have already told you, the year in which you allocate, you will get 3 more years to finish those 20 rupees example that I gave you. Then annual action plan, this is not Aam Aadmi Party, it sounds like AAP. This is annual action plan. It has to be ready. It has some areas to be completed and a wise corporate would do it in the 4th quarter of the year for the next financial year. Please make a note if you are a corporate, please do it ready by the 4th quarter. If you don't want to fall in a default situation by March. Clarity has been presented on admin overhead surplus, which I will tell you in that Excel sheet. The role of the CFO has become very important. Now what is happening is, and that leads me to the next slide. So like this is the one, number 8 only. There should be good collaboration between CFO, CSR head, CA and the CS. Can anybody tell me the role of these 4 people in the organization? The CFO will clarify the budget for the coming year and now has to also certify the expenditure. This is the new amendment. Now 100 rupee allocated hai ki nahi hai, is it happening or not? The CFO will tell the head CSR, who should then spend the money. Now the money which is spent should be accounted for and audited by the chartered accountant and should be filed in the report by the company secretary. So what I keep telling everybody is, make sure that your CFO, CSR head, CA and CS meet once a quarter for 1 hour. Please take this as a vitamin C tablet from my side. If you do this, if they have to fight, let them fight in Q1, let them fight in Q2, and in 3T they might do a jhappi, and in Q4 you may get a CSR award. I am just telling you certain things which I am speaking from experience. If you do this, if an NGO, as an NGO you understand this, if you find Q1 they are all fighting, hold on to your proposal a little bit. Sneak in when you find that there is good bonhomie. Some jappi going on, then in the jappi you will be the fifth one who will get the jappi and you may get the funds. Also plan your pitch at the right time. Okay, that is very, very important. Treatment, reporting of capital assets has now been defined very well. As a corporate, if I fund a capital asset, I cannot take it back. It has to be with the NGO or go to the community. It has been very, very clearly defined. This you will read in this entire docket that I will share with you. Okay. Then, business activities should not be part of CSR, but CSR could lead to better business. So, I will give you two examples. I work with two corporates amongst many. One is Genpact CSR, I also work with HCL. Now, Genpact in its business, it says that when you hire a Genpact, it will bring upon digital transformation in your business. So, Genpact in its CSR says digital transformation for good. That we will, if you are funded by us, then we will digitally transform your NGO to become good. And HCL Foundation says HCL Tech is a technology software company. It says that in software, in business, we develop source codes because algorithm means source coding. So, it says when we fund a project, we develop source code for social change. So, corporates are permitted to connect their core business ideology into their CSR space so that when they do CSR, their business gets validated and strengthened and their business may gain and their share value may go up, they may get more turnover. If turnover goes up, then the 2% goes up. When the 2% goes up, then there are more funds. If there are more funds, then the NGOs like all of us can get more monies also. Can you see the interrelationship? Yes or no? Yes. There is a key interrelationship here to be understood, which I am now taking you deeper into this MTech class. Okay? Alright? Non-compliance is a civil offence and I have already told you maximum 1 crore and for the staff 1/10 of that, maximum 10 lakh rupees. Okay? Now for the NGO, these are the 6 important ones and the last one is in yellow. If you have read the book, Who Moved My Cheese, your funding will go away if you do not understand the first 5. So, I have highlighted it in yellow. Okay? Key role of the NGO leader to understand the game. Must spend, utilize in a timely manner. If you don't take, when you take money, make sure your spending is in a timely manner. Because otherwise you will build pressure on your donor. If there is pressure on your donor, the CFO and the CA will fight in the next quarter and they will kill you. So why trigger them? Do something which makes them do the jhappi. Spend your money in time, go back. Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4. Registration, I hope all of you have done 12A, 80G, Form CSR1. There was a new one which you may be aware, Form 10BD. Form 10BD, all of you filled up this time? Yes. How many of you filled up Form 10BD for all your donors? Please raise your hands. But NGOs are so many here, why have the others not done? How many of you have not done the Form 10BD or are hearing for it for the first time? No, the NGOs should be aware about it. 31st May was the last day for it and they should be making a Form 10BD and again, your chartered accountant should be guiding you on this. So, as an NGO, you should have a PAN number.
No, not ours. The donor's PAN number.
So, why do you should take the PAN number from the donor?
They simply refuse.
No, we wrote to all the corporates and they said this is a matter of compliance. They all gave us, you have to do that. They have to give it. Huh? Individual donors. In fact, make sure that when you take funding, they give their PAN card together with the money number. Otherwise, don't take their money because you have to report it that way. See, somewhere they are converging everything on the IT portal now. In the new income tax portal, they are converging everything with the PAN card. So, you have to take it. Form CSR1, I hope all of you have done Form CSR1. Okay, good. This I have already told you. Okay, now, 1 minute. Now, there are a lot of these definitions which are there in the presentation that I will share with you. This is all very technical. I am going through it a little fast over here. Ongoing project, I hope everybody is understood. A project which goes from 1 plus 3 years, it goes on for 3 years and you can accordingly report it. The corporate can report it. Admin overheads, I will come, is a very tricky one. I am just going to come to it. Now this slide. I don't know if you can see from the back, but I will just try and read it out. If 100 rupees are available with a corporate as a budget, then 5% of it, it can keep as admin overheads. Now this is 5% of expenditure. What does it mean? It means that if my budget is 100 rupees and my expenditure in the year is 90 rupees, my admin will be 5% of not 100 rupees but 5% of 90 rupees. So what is the moral of the story? The moral of the story is that you must not do the 5% or 5 rupees spending in the beginning itself, because it is in relation to the spending of the money. And admin overhead is meant to be kept by the company to manage the whole CSR. So which all activities are included? Board level compliances like policy, strategy, annual action plan, CFO compliances, headquarter employee costs, legal expenses, office supplies, stationery, admin related travel, all as part of general management and administration of CSR, including mandatory CSR reporting. All of that are central headquarter functions which can be billed to 5% of CSR expenditure, not the budget. The budget could be 100 if expenditure is 5 rupees, then admin, sorry, if budget is 100 and the actual spending till March is 50 rupees, then your admin expense is only 2.5 rupees. It can't be 5 rupees, it can't become 10%. It is 5% of expenditure, very important. The remaining 95, B, C, D and E. B is actually, now impact assessment has become mandatory for certain category of projects. And if you are qualifying to do impact assessment as a corporate, you can keep 5% up to a maximum of 50 lakh rupees for this in a year. Otherwise, you can spend money the remaining on designing of CSR projects, implementation and M&E, which is monitoring and evaluation. Designing means need assessment, request for proposals, project design, due diligence and selection of NGOs, making MOUs, budget plan, theory of change, model of intervention. All of this money the corporate can spend and they need not bill this amount to this. They often ask me questions, where do I bill the salary of my staff in the headquarter? If the staff is doing board compliances and need assessment or RFP and the salary of the person is 50 rupees and their time is 8 hours and they are giving 4 hours each, then 25 rupees can be billed here and 25 rupees can be billed here. This is very, very important. This is what comes to most of us, D and E, which is implementation of projects and M&E. For monitoring and evaluation, a corporate can hire an external agency also and give this money to them. But this will invariably be given to a form CSR Form 1 NGO. And this NGO is typically the one which is 1, 2, 3, 4. Can you see the connects now? It is 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay? Any question on this? Yep. 12:48, so I've got 10 minutes more. Yeah?
Donor, you put an external agency to verify.
Yeah.
The donor has put an external agency to verify our activities, give a report to them. Now, the money service charge of what we pay to the external agency should be borne by the NGO or it should be borne by the...
Good question. So, the rules say very clearly that general management will be 5%, right? And this is for design of projects, implementation and monitoring and evaluation. At that point, it is not saying what should be the routing. But it says in one of the rules that for implementation and for 1, 2, 3, 4 activities route, it says that very clearly. It needs to be a trust, a society or a company. Okay. Therefore, you may be a company which has 100 rupees budget and 5 rupees you spend here and you have 95 rupees. Ideally, you should spend out of this 95 maximum in the orange because the NGO is spending the money. Minimum here is mandatory, suppose it is not required, then minimum here but necessary requirements do it, and here it is critical. This could also be part of the NGO budget because the NGO could do its own M&E also. But impact assessment has to be at the third party. So the payment to the third party will go directly to the third party, and if this one is a third party, it can go directly to the third party. If this is part of the NGO, the budget could go out of the 95 to the NGO which has both of this together. Is that okay? Any other questions? Yes.
We are the implementing agency.
I think maybe just remove the mask also a little bit if you can. Yeah.
So we are the implementing agencies.
Okay.
Where we are getting donations from our company, and so we are also incurring administrative expenses.
You are number 2, category number 2?
It's one.
You are a corporate foundation?
No, I am a trustee. That is SST.
Achha, that is TVS Trust.
Yeah, TVS Trust.
So that is number 1. Okay,
yeah,
tell me.
Sir, where we are getting donations from TVS Motor Company, and we too have our own establishment cost and other overheads.
Okay.
With respect to these implementing agencies.
Right.
Whether this administrative cost will be considered again within this 5%, or it will not be treated as against this 5%.
Very good question. This 5 rupees can remain with TVS, the parent company. But lot of companies, what they do is they also give this 5 to the foundation. So my question to you is, sir, is TVS keeping this 5 rupees with itself, or is it giving it to you?
So we are getting 100 rupees fully from them.
Okay.
Out of this 100, I'm just I will finish. Out of this 100 rupees,
right,
our establishment cost will be around 30 to 35%. Plus other overheads also, administrative overheads also. In such case,
is about how much? 33.
Because we have almost 17 branches we have.
1 minute. So you are saying that TVS gives you all this 100 rupees.
Yeah.
So all 100 is with TVS society, the trust.
Yeah, it gives to trust.
Now, what you as a trust need to make sure is that out of that 100 rupees that you have, who is making the annual action plan for TVS, the company? Are you the society making, or they hire a consultant?
Actually, we make the annual plan and we will be submitting to the CSR committee.
So you are doing it,
yeah.
And if you hire a consultant, then the trust will hire the consultant.
What is that?
You as the trust will hire the consultant and not the company. Right?
Yeah.
So then you as a trust can spend this as your 5%, and if you are traveling all over, you can bill it to M&E.
Okay.
Because you are traveling not for picnic, I am sure.
Yeah.
You are traveling for monitoring.
Yes.
You are traveling for monitoring,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
You may be traveling for need assessment also.
Fine. Yes.
Exactly. So make sure when you sit with your accountant, with your CA, you distribute the 30 between here, and here, and try to make that 30 as little as possible so that this can be as big as possible. But if 30 is still required, justify it here a lot, and obviously if you have specific tasks you are doing, 5 rupees you can spend here. So I will say out of that 30, 25 you need to put here, 25 you need to put here and here.
Fine.
And maybe because you are traveling a lot, this could be bigger and this could be lesser.
Okay, sir.
Are you getting your answer?
Sir, I missed out one thing with respect to spending, which I want to think. See, we have a lot of renovation work we are taking, and quarter-wise we are clearly planning for everything also. That renovation duration will be around 1.5 to 2 months actually. So when we start a work in the month of January, normally we hope to finish it by end of February or first week of March at any cost. But there are, due to some practical or administrative issue, due to the contractor's absence or something, this may get postponed to a little bit to first week of April or May also.
Okay.
In such case, there are two options for me. Either I have to pay him some advance. See, the total project cost would be around 4 to 5 lakhs.
So it will depend upon your method of accounting, accrual basis method you are doing?
Yeah.
Accrual basis?
Yeah, accrual only.
Okay.
So, see, the project cost would be around 4 to 5 lakhs only. So, out of compulsion, because that contractor may need some working capital for his things, because it's small contractors only. So, what they do, if they are not going to complete it before 31st March, they will be coming to us by 20th of March, and we will be compelled to pay either advance on the based upon the completion of the work, or we have to tell them to raise a running bill, and against which we will be effecting payment for the same. So it would be around 60% or 70% of the work. So whether this payment will qualify for my expenditure.
Yeah, so very valid question. So what you could do is, you could ask, and you want to show this as a spending in the same FY. Yeah, so see, in the accrual system, you can show it as an advance, and you are giving
advance qualify
as a contract. You are hiring these people, no, the contractor, right? You can take an estimate, and then you can take a timeline also. See, technically speaking, if you have given this money and it is under play and is going to end in the next week or 10 days, you can report it as spending in 31st March only. Make sure, what you can ask is, ask them to bill it before 31st March.
That's right. Because in all probabilities, we will try to finish by end of March itself. But there are a couple of cases where it may extend up to first week of April also. In such cases, practically it's not possible.
No worries. You can, because technically speaking, the utilization would mean that the activity is over by 31st March. But since it has not happened, you just document the reason, say that you have given advance. The advance ka planning was that it finishes by 31st March, but because of rains, some cyclone, whatever, force majeure condition or whatever, document it, give that money as advance, or take a bill before 31st March and make it, take a completion report in the first week of April. That is perfectly fine.
Fine. Thank you.
See, at the end of the day, your intent is not wrong. The intent is the key. Okay?
My last question to you.
Okay. I think we are 12:57 now.
There are companies which are having sports person as in their payroll. When it comes to social workers, they can also do the same. Why are they not doing it? When it comes to sports or any other thing, for example, there are a lot of players, they are in leading corporates, but they are getting salary without doing any job.
So very, very interesting questions. Your questions are full of googlies I can see, and dusras. That Muralidharan dusras. But I will sit with you. So eventually it is the corporate's decision, right? And corporates are hiring people from the social sector in their CSR department now. Because if they hire a CSR person, a social person for business, their business will collapse and CSR funding will become zero. You have to think that also.
So when you say the shareholders, they want to see the ethics, they want to see any activity.
But at the end of the day, no, your point is valid, but the key thing the shareholder would want, that money should keep coming, na?